So hello, I'm back again to talk about, you know it, American domestic politics. So what I want to highlight here is the moving skepticism on the Democratic voters towards AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. They are not popular among the public anymore, especially with Democratic voters. And I know the election results were mixed last night. It was bittersweet. Um, Not all establishment Democrats lost like everybody was hoping on the left, but and one of my favorite people did not get back into Congress, Cori Bush. I don't know what went on in that district. I don't know the personal internal affairs there. I don't know what relationships she really had with the constituents there. Um, I will say a lot of it I think had to do with APAC money. They spent a lot of money against her again. Um, but again, it didn't work in every race, though, especially in Michigan. And I'm going to show you guys a clip about how Michigan Democrats feel about AIPAC and corporate influence and money in general. Okay, because despite all the money it was spent against Abdul Sayed, he still prevailed. Now, to be fair, it was a very close race. He did not win by 15 points like the numbers were showing. It was a very close race, but people have to understand $60 million plus were thrown against him in attack ads. Very misleading ads, I want to remind people. Okay, and unfortunately, Islamophobia is a still real problem in this country, just like racism. All right. And being Muslim or having an ethnic name does work against you, especially when you're running for higher office. That's a reality, and especially if corporate America is strongly against you, you know. So that's just a reality that exists in our system. But despite that, he defied all odds and ended up winning the Democratic nomination for the Senate. Now, I want everybody to be cautious and understand, yes, I still think he's going to win. He is a great candidate, and he knows how to break through the BS, and he can raise the money. But just know AIPAC and all these corporate interest groups are going to come out hard against him, even in the general election, just like they did in the Democratic primary, and you saw how close it got. He only beat Haley Stevens by a single point. It was very close. She came very close to winning. Okay. And she was not the strongest Democrat, especially in the establishment ticket. Like, I'm kind of surprised they're backing weaker and weaker candidates as their standard bearer candidate. But she had a lot of corporate and institutional backing. All right, and he defied odds. Another progressive candidate, two progressive candidates won primaries in Michigan for the House of Representatives. So McKinney, a guy named McKinney beat Sri Chatterjee, an incumbent. And another guy named Williams won an open seat primary, who started the Sunrise Movement. So it was a pretty good night for progressives. It wasn't the best of the best. They didn't win every race, as we saw. Cori Bush didn't make it back to Congress. She lost by, unfortunately, a whopping 22 points, which was disappointing. But I want to remind people of her contribution when she was in Congress. This is the woman who, it was disheartening. That's why I said it was bittersweet, because she literally put her body on the line for her voters. She put herself out there. She literally sat on the streets fighting eviction moratoriums. And that's why I tell people, and it's St. Louis, Missouri's loss, because she would have been an awesome congresswoman. She, and then again, I don't know about her personal ethics or issues. I know I've heard stories. But whatever happened, and that's their loss. But I don't think her fight for justice, and I want to remind people she was the original Justice Democrat, is not in vain. She didn't make it into Congress, but a lot of other great people did. And I have confidence that this movement's only going to continue. But let's celebrate the wins where we can take them, right? I mean, they're not going to win every race every time, but people are getting skeptical of this pro-Israel lobby. It's becoming a thing nationwide. Now, it didn't work in St. Louis. AIPAC won that race, unfortunately, which I want to remind people they won because they're buying our people in Congress. I just want to remind people AIPAC bought St. Louis again, unfortunately, but they didn't buy every race. They certainly didn't get to buy the Senate race in the Democratic primary in Michigan. They didn't get to buy 2 House races in the primaries in Michigan either. So there was bittersweet. The progressive socialist who ran in one of the districts in Washington State unfortunately fell short. She came in a distant third, which I would argue to voters, it's okay to vote for independents. Okay, she was an independent. She wasn't a Democrat. Her name was Kama Sawant. She was a true progressive. And unfortunately, she didn't make it into the runoff. A Republican made it into the runoff against the corporate Democrat stooge, Adam Smith. So, yuck, unfortunately. Do better, Democrats, please. Do better, Democratic voters, especially in Washington State. Come on, dude. You live near Seattle. It is one of the bluest districts in the country. There is no reason to compromise your values, okay? You could have voted for a true progressive, even if she was an independent, because a Republican's never going to win that seat. You could have voted for the true progressive, and then you could have got the corporate compromise candidate out of office. Again, I don't know what it's going to take for some voters out there, but again, it was not a terrible night. It was a good night last night. It wasn't great, but it was good, so progress is happening, and I'm optimistic about the future. But obviously more work needs to be done, and shout out to Cori Bush. Thank you for the fight you did put in. I know you didn't make it to Congress this time, but we appreciate your contribution. We appreciate Kama Sawant and her fight for justice. There's a lot of great people out there, unfortunately, who didn't make it to Congress. But I hold out faith they will get there, because this movement's not going anywhere. And there is improvement happening, And I'm encouraged to see that some people beat back big money and won. It's a good sign. So I'm going to show you guys a clip about how Michigan Democrats feel about AIPAC. Okay. I'll see y'all later. You have a great day. You have a great night. Goodbye.